What's going on?
A friend of ours is dead in his bedroom. We hadn't heard from him for a while. We think he's dead. His roommate just went in there and said there's lots of blood. I didn't go in, but I can give you the phone to someone who went in there.
Yes, please, can you?
Hello.
Hi, so what's going on?
He's dead. He's in his bedroom.
Okay.
In the shower.
Okay. How did this happen? Do you have any idea?
No, we have no idea. Everyone's been wondering about him for a few days.
She said that there was blood. So is it coming from his head? Did he cut his head?
It's all over the place.
Is there any weapons around?
I don't know. Not that I saw.
I need all of you outside. Has he been threatened by anyone recently?
Yes, he has. Okay. He has an ex-girlfriend that's been bothering him and following him and slashing tires and things like that.
And do you know the ex-girlfriend's name?
Do you remember? Yeah. What's his ex-girlfriend's name? Ask Taylor. Her name is Jodi.
Jodi Arias was born in July 1980 in Salinas, California. On the surface, a middle-class family, but inside the home, Jodi later recounted a harsh upbringing that made her feel oppressed and let down. In her teenage years, signs of rebellion began to appear. Her parents discovered she was growing marijuana in her room. So they called the police, a move that deepened the rift between them. Her problems didn't stop at home. At school, she was frequently absent and failed to adapt. And in 11th grade, she left her desk for good. From that time on, she lived searching for a way out. She got involved with a man older than her, a short relationship that didn't last. She moved between simple jobs as a waitress, but her constant feeling was that she deserved more. She was searching for meaning, and for appreciation she found neither at home nor at work. In her early 20s, she found a different opportunity through a marketing company called Prepaid Legal. The conferences, travel, and interaction with ambitious people gave her a sense of belonging to a new life. And in 2006, she was at a conference in Las Vegas. There she met a man who would completely change the course of her life. Travis Alexander. Travis was born on July 28, 1977 in Riverside, California. His childhood was difficult. His parents were drug addicts, and the house was full of chaos. At the age of 8, he moved with his siblings to his grandmother's house, and there he found stability. Travis grew up with a charismatic personality, well-liked among his friends, successful in sales at Prepaid Legal. His religious commitment was clear, and his dream was to marry and establish a stable family. At the 2006 conference, he met Jodi Arias. The attraction was mutual. For her, he was a knight in shining armor, successful, handsome, committed, and for him, she was different. Beautiful, enthusiastic, reciprocating his interest. Soon the relationship turned from admiration to attachment, but from the beginning there was a contradiction. Travis declared his religious commitment, while Jodi was willing to cross red lines to please him, and indeed he entered into a physical relationship with her, secret and contrary to his religious principles. Jodi believed that marriage was inevitably coming, but Travis didn't see her as a future wife. Over time, the dysfunction appeared. Travis enjoyed the relationship, but he didn't trust her. He saw her as obsessed in an exaggerated way. As for Jodi, she was drowning more in attachment. Endless calls and messages, monitoring his movements, breaking into his house through the pet door and even watching him with other women. His friends warned him, "Stay away from her, she's dangerous." But he didn't cut her off completely. The door remained open. A door that would ultimately lead them both to tragedy. With the beginning of 2007, the relationship from the outside looked like any troubled love story. But deep down, it was much darker. Travis was looking for a committed wife, while Jodi didn't suit him. He was physically attracted to her, but he didn't see her as a life partner. His friends confirmed to him, "She will destroy you." As for Jodi, she wasn't ready to lose. She had sacrificed for him, changed her religion, and crossed red lines, and in her mind, it was impossible for him to walk away from her. In the summer of 2007, Travis began dating another girl named Lisa Andrews. She was a religious young woman, representing everything he wanted in terms of stability and values. But Jodi couldn't bear the thought. She sent Lisa an email full of threats and accusations, a message that clearly revealed that Jodi's jealousy was no longer just feelings, but had turned into aggressive behavior. The matter didn't stop there. Jodi began to intrude on Travis's life in strange ways. She was seen entering his house at late hours without his knowledge. She used the pet door to enter secretly. She appeared suddenly in front of his house after midnight. All these actions made Travis's friends feel the danger. Even he himself began to describe her in his messages as obsessed and dangerous. But despite that, he didn't end the relationship completely. He continued to communicate with her sometimes, perhaps out of pity, and perhaps because he couldn't resist her attraction. In her diary, Jodi wrote words that revealed a lot about her mental state. She said she wished she could turn off her feelings toward Travis like turning off a light switch, but she wasn't capable of doing so. And while he was trying to move forward, she was becoming more attached, even ready to do anything not to lose him. The obsession became clear to everyone, except she saw it only as deep love that couldn't be dispensed with. In March 2008, Jodi moved to live with her grandparents in Northern California, a step that seemed like an attempt to distance herself from Travis and to start anew. But the truth is, she never stopped thinking about him for a single moment. At the same time, Travis had begun a new relationship with a girl named Mimi Hall. He was planning to travel with her to Cancun on an upcoming trip, which drove Jodi crazy. Feelings of jealousy turned into something more dangerous, a sense of betrayal, and a desire for revenge. In late May 2008, Jodi's grandparents' house was burglarized. Among the stolen items was a 25mm pistol. The police didn't connect the incident to her initially, but later this event would be considered a pivotal step in her plan. A few days later, Jodi rented a car from a rental office 100 miles from her house, so no one would connect her to the movement. She changed her hair color from blonde to brown. She bought 3 plastic gas cans, filled them to be able to travel without stopping at gas stations and to avoid cameras, and she turned off her cell phone so her location couldn't be tracked. Everything seemed calculated, as if she were preparing for a mission with no return. On June 2, 2008, Jodi set out on a long road trip. She drove more than 15 hours straight until she reached the city of Mesa where Travis lived. At 4:30 in the morning, she entered his house using the garage code. And despite the strangeness of her sudden arrival, Travis didn't kick her out. On the contrary, they spent the day together in an atmosphere that seemed on the surface normal. They took intimate photos and spent hours of emotional and physical closeness. But what seemed like warm moments was in reality the final scene in Travis's life. On the evening of June 4th, Travis stood under the water in his bathroom while Jodi took photos of him. He smiled in some of them. He seemed relaxed, as if he didn't know that this moment would turn into a crime document. A few minutes later, everything changed. No one knows for certain what sparked the ignition. Was it a verbal argument? Did Travis finally feel he was in danger and try to kick her out? Investigators believe that Jodi ambushed him with a knife first, a surprise stab that confused him. Then she rained successive stabs upon him. More than 27 stabs penetrated his body. And when he tried to escape, she followed him and finished him off with a deep wound to his neck until his head was nearly severed from his body. And finally, a bullet to the head. A brutal crime by all measures, carrying within it a mixture of anger, jealousy, and obsession. After Travis fell motionless, Jodi began confused attempts to hide what she had done. She dragged his body inside the bathroom, washed some evidence, and threw clothes and covers in the washing machine. But she left behind what would incriminate her later. A palm print mixed with her blood and Travis's blood on the wall. A camera that fell into the washing machine, but it retained the memory card, which had the last photos taken minutes before the crime. And even blurry photos during the assault itself. Then she left the place calmly, as if she had never been there. But her traces were clearer than she thought. On June 9th, 2008, Travis Alexander's friends began to feel worried. They had grown accustomed to his quick presence and constant response to their calls and messages. But this time, he was gone for days. Mimi Hall, his new girlfriend who was supposed to travel with him to Cancun, couldn't reach him, and a group of his friends decided to go to his house to make sure he was okay. When they arrived, they were met with a strange smell emanating from inside, and after several attempts to open the bedroom, they entered to find the nightmarish scene. Travis in the bathroom, his body stabbed dozens of times, his neck nearly severed, and a bullet in his head. The walls stained with blood, the floor drowned in chaos. The scene wasn't just a killing, but a massacre. The police arrived quickly and began the evidence collection process. From the first moment, it was clear that the killer wasn't a stranger. No broken doors, no signs of break-in, but rather an organized entry by someone who knew the place well. The friends didn't hesitate to mention one name, Jodi Arias. They told investigators that she was obsessed with Travis, constantly stalking him and appearing suddenly in his life. Some of them even described her as a shadow that never leaves. Thus, she became the #1 suspect from day one. When Jodi Arias was summoned for interrogation, she initially appeared strangely calm. She was answering politely, denying any connection to the crime and confirming that she hadn't seen Travis for a long time. But the investigators had what would refute her words. The camera that was found in the washing machine, whose photos the police expert succeeded in recovering. Photos taken of Jodi and Travis together on the same day he was killed. And other photos taken during the attack itself, showing Travis's body drenched in blood. The investigator confronted her with the photos. She smiled with embarrassed confusion, then her story began to change. At first, Jodi said that unknown persons broke into the house and killed Travis, but she survived by a miracle, a story that seemed more Hollywood than real. Then, after long pressure, she admitted that she was the one who killed him. But she insisted that what she did was in self-defense, after Travis attacked her violently. However, the physical evidence told a different story. The repeated stabs, the brutal slashing of the neck, the bullet to the head, all of this pointed to a crime full of anger and premeditation, not just self-defense. During the interrogation sessions, Jodi displayed behavior that shocked everyone. When the investigator left her alone in the room, she didn't sit crying or disturbed like any defendant in a murder case would, but she began singing to herself a famous song, the Star-Spangled Banner, the American national anthem. And at another moment, she stood on her head, performing a strange movement as if she were in a yoga session. Behaviors that seemed completely out of context, and gave investigators a picture of an unstable mentality, or perhaps more confident than it should be. In July 2008, and after gathering evidence, Jodi Arias was charged with first-degree murder. The press quickly picked up the story, and the public was divided from the first moment. One group sees her as a cold-blooded killer, who planned the crime and executed it precisely. And another group was affected by her narrative, and saw her as a woman who fell into an abusive relationship that ended in catastrophe. But what's certain is that the case was no longer just a murder. It had become a huge media spectacle, which all of America would follow for years. With the trial approaching, each side began preparing its narrative. The prosecution confirmed that Jodi planned the crime precisely, rented a car far away, bought gas cans to avoid cameras, changed her hair color, and turned off her phone. All of this points to premeditation. The defense presented Jodi as a victim of an abusive relationship. They said Travis controlled her, used her physically while refusing to acknowledge her as a girlfriend in front of people, and that the moment of killing was nothing but an explosion in the context of long violence. But the undeniable truth is that Travis's body bore the marks of 27 stabs, a nearly complete slashing wound, and a bullet to the head. Evidence that no defense succeeded in justifying. In December 2012, after years of postponements and preparations, Jodi Arias' trial began in Maricopa County Court in Arizona. The seats filled with journalists, cameras were present in abundance, and the American public was watching closely. The case transformed from a criminal file into something resembling a live television show. A beautiful young woman accused of killing her boyfriend in a brutal way. This alone was enough to attract millions to follow the details. The prosecution, led by famous attorney Juan Martinez, painted a clear picture. Jodi wasn't a victim, but a cold-blooded killer. She planned the crime, prepared for it precisely, then executed it brutally. He presented the evidence before the jury. The camera that took photos of Jodi and Travis minutes before the crime. Other photos taken during the attack, showing Travis bleeding. The palm print mixed with his blood and hers. The testimony of friends who repeatedly warned of her obsession with him. And the prosecution said, this wasn't self-defense. This was a revenge operation executed out of jealousy and anger. On the other side, the defense team presented a completely different narrative. Jodi, according to their account, wasn't a calculating killer, but a victim of a troubled relationship. They claimed Travis abused her psychologically and physically, and that she lived with him under great emotional pressure. And when Jodi took the stand herself to give her testimony, she continued for 18 consecutive days, which is an unusual number. During her testimony, she talked about her troubled childhood, about her relationship with Travis, about his abuses, and about the night when the confrontation turned into a crime. But the problem was that Jodi had changed her narrative more than once. At first, she denied she was present. Then she said strangers broke into the house. And finally, she said she killed Travis in self-defense. This contradiction made the jury doubt her honesty. But the majority was stunned by the gruesome details of the crime, and by Jodi's personality, which at some moments seemed to enjoy the spotlight more than caring about her fate. During the arguments, the prosecution used the horrific photos of Travis's body. They showed the jury how he received dozens of stabs and how his neck was slashed, and how he ended with a bullet to the head. They said, anyone killed this way wasn't attacking, but was trying to survive. As for the defense, they tried to focus on Travis's character, portraying him as a man with double standards, religious in public, but living a secret relationship in private. But this line wasn't enough to erase the traces of the crime itself. In May 2013, and after lengthy deliberations, the jury reached a decision. Jodi Arias is guilty of first-degree murder. The courtroom filled with applause from Travis's family and friends, who had waited for this moment for years. But the matter of punishment wasn't settled yet. Would Jodi face the death penalty or life in prison? The trial entered a new phase, the sentencing phase. The prosecution presented moving testimonies from Travis's family. They spoke about their pain, about their lives that were shattered after losing him. Their words were full of tears and anger in an attempt to push the jury to rule for the death penalty. As for Jodi, she surprised everyone when she said she preferred the death penalty over life in prison. But she later backtracked, asking the court to give her a chance at life so she could contribute to society from inside prison. And in the end, the jurors didn't unanimously agree on the death penalty. and it ended with her being sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The case ended from a legal standpoint, but it continued in the media for years. Documentaries, books, television movies all dealt with Jodi Arias' story, and she became one of the most famous trials in modern American history. Travis's family saw that justice was achieved, but they said their pain would never end. As for Jodi, she remained in prison, a controversial figure, remembered by people from time to time as a symbol of murderous obsession. Even from inside prison, Jodi didn't cut herself off from the media. She appeared in several television interviews, talking about her suffering and about the injustice she was subjected to. She sometimes seemed to enjoy the fame, despite spending her life behind bars. She sparked controversy when she participated in a singing competition inside prison and even boasted about her win. She also offered her artwork for sale online through intermediaries, which angered Travis's family, who considered it exploitation of their son's blood. The case became a reference when discussing crimes of toxic romantic relationships, obsession and jealousy as motives for murder. Today, Jodi Arias is serving her sentence in an Arizona state prison and will never see freedom again. But her story is still present in discussions, in documentaries, and on social media. Was she a cold-blooded killer who planned and took revenge? Or a victim of psychological fragility and a destructive relationship that pushed her to explode? This was the story of Jodi Arias. Every life carries a story. Some end in pain, some in silence. This was one of them, but many more remain. Stay with us until the next story.